All right. I really asked Shiny to give me this panel, one, because I'm only learning. Okay, so I'm really excited about being here with these wonderful guys. And also, it's always great to be on a panel. We're only asking questions and saying, "Mere paas dimag nahi hai." But so that's what I'm excited about. Okay, Gen Zs, right? Generations it's a slightly tricky concept, right? Because while we talk about segments and personalization and segmenter one, this is probably the biggest, broadest segment that we're having a conversation about. But I think what's interesting is that there are, enough and more statistical proof about how generations have some similarities which brands and businesses need to adapt to understand and so on and so forth, right? And again, Gen Z is one of them. And just technical information, I hope I'm getting this right. 97 to 2012 is Gen Z. And as Shiny, my friend, told me, they're also called Zoomers. Okay, so this credit is to Shiny. The generation before that is millennials, and generation after that is Gen Alphas, right? And again, this is interesting, right? Because the person who's born in 97 is almost 17 now, right? And it's almost close to entering the workforce. The other thing which is interesting is that this is the first truly digital native generation, which means they were born when internet was part. Most of us, most of us are immigrants in some sense. Some of the younger millennials will be natives again. The other thing is, and I was reading somewhere, that large events in your environment impact the psyche of the generation, right? So, and if you look at this generation, COVID happened during this generation's time, right? So I think that's the other, as I said, the factor which is going to shape how this generation operates and behaves. The other point which I found very interesting was that this generation, while it's about 100 million in the country, so it's large base already, but might not have the purchasing power right now, and Alok and I were discussing this, but they definitely have a strong influencing power, right? So cars, fashion, they're making their choices themselves, they're much more aware. The other thing which I started finding quite interesting was, and again, there's this generation's again focusing a lot more on inclusivity, some of the more modern concepts, if I have to say it, things that millennials or boomers have been talking about for much long, inclusivity, sustainability. So some of these larger macro elements seems to be impacting their psyche. Again, I have no idea this. I read on the internet, so not to say that I'm just trying to sound smart, right? But that's all that my information is. And I've got this wonderful panel here to help us decode this. And I'm going to start with respect to the others, Alok, and two reasons. One, I didn't even ask him how young he is. He's the youngest, I'm just assuming. And therefore, he has the right to talk about Gen Z. Second most important thing, he runs a brand which is designed for Gen Zers, right? So I think he does bring in a lot more insight. And before I obviously come to Abhishek and Arun to get their views as well. So Alok, and again, we're happy to hear your understanding of what is Gen Z really, right? And give us a sense of what are you learning about this particular generation, how they operate, what they want, what they buy, and so on and so forth. And then we'll probably do a deep dive on what you do as well in my second half, though. Thanks, Alok.
Hey, hi. Hello, everyone. So one thing that, like when you look at our consumers, right, like who they are. So primarily Gen Zs, yes, urban millennials too. And what we have noticed is that the customers, right, or so what they express themselves through our products. So in their own circle of influence, right? It need not be like 10,000 followers in their Instagram. It can be just a 900, say, followers, right? But they want to express themselves through the things that they use in their day-to-day life, and apparel being one of the key things. So our customers, like it can be mainly for, say, they go on a date, right? Or they go on, so these are all special occasions that they purchase our products for. So it can be a vacation with their friends in Goa, or a resort stay with their family, or pub hopping with their colleagues, right? So these are the times when a lot of, as these are special occasions in their life, right? So a lot of reels, a lot of photos, a lot of things are created. And one of the key things that we have noticed is that, customers do not like to repeat the products. The reason behind that is that once it is posted in Instagram, they don't want to see, again in the same clothes. So this is one thing that we do notice. Second is that they do buy also. The frequency of buying is also quite high, right? Like, so that is again something that we have noticed. And so there was one thing, initially we started primarily as a, marketplace brand, right? So at that point of time, it was more like a black box kind of a thing because we didn't know who our end consumers were and how they were using it. The only way we came to know about it was when they started tagging us in Instagram, and then we could see that how they are using these products, right? So one of the cases that happened around 4 years back, right? 4.5 years back, somebody messaged us in Instagram and she was kind of angry with us saying that what kind of a brand you are, you do not have, all sizes like 2XL, 3XL, 4XL. So that means you're not an inclusive kind of a brand. And at that point of time, we being millennials could not relate with it. Like, why is she angry? Like, we sell small, medium, large XL. Yeah, means it's not that, we don't do that by choice. It's because that is the offering that we have. But then slowly, once we started understanding this, then we realized that it is important for them. Like being, inclusion, diversity, these are things that are very important for them. And, that is something that is, means they relate with the brand when, like for the causes or the things that a brand does, for them it is very important. And even one thing that we have noticed is that we cannot be very polished or kind of not transparent. You have to be very transparent, and those are the things that work out. Like, if so, user-generated content is what is our major thing in our Instagram community, right? But the moment we put any kind of, polished kind of videos of models and all, it never works, right? So these are few of the things.
No, I love this. Social expression, inclusivity, and authenticity, right? I mean, these are three things that I'm taking away from you, and I think the wonderful examples as well. And Arun, I'm going to come to you now. And I think one, from your own perspective of the business that you represent, Subway, but even otherwise, and you were giving a couple of very good examples in our discussions before that. Just give us a sense of what this really means to you and what are you observing about this particular generation?
So Abhishek, I mean, basis my experience of last 6 years in terms of trying to woo this segment and audience. I mean, every day has been a day full of learning, I would say that. And for a simple reason that, the fact that I think this generation has managed to outsmart most of the marketers with respect to how they, deploy their money or waste their money in terms of impressing them. I think at the core of it, primarily, 2-3 things lies, with respect to this generation. One is the value and price point. The sticker is very important aspect of that. Both Zudio are just two, basic examples. We deliver great value at a particular price point. That's one. Second is, I would say they are very scared of getting into a situation like a FOMO. They are well rehearsed, well read, they are aware of the trends which are going on, what is happening, and they want to be well versed with it and associate with the brands which are also trying to be a part of conversation, be it a meme culture or a trolling culture or anything like that, is something that they associate with. Third thing, they are aspirational in life, no two thoughts about it. Their current state of mind with respect to how they want to manage their life, is different, and they have a perspective about how they want to move into future as well. So in my view, brands, I mean, as Alok said, they need to be authentic with respect to what they offer to them. They need to stick to the values that they seek, and create, even if they are not able to afford this brand today, they should be able to seek that. And they have a very different way to go about things. And I was discussing with you that there are 3 team members of mine, one being a millennial 1995 born, then there is a 2002 and 2003 born, 2 Gen Zs. And we were having an internal conversation with respect to try and understand their mindset. So the one question that I threw to them was that, how do you think about creating wealth for yourselves? How you plan to go about your investments? So the millennials started in a typical way, mutual funds is the first thing, then, there is NPS, then there is PPF, there are some safety funds that I keep. Then there is the elder Gen Z. Elder Gen Z says, though I save a little in my current salary at the moment, but I only invest in stocks through small case, because they are the experts, I just put in my money. The third one said that, you know what, I am very clear, for next year, 6 years, whatever I'll save, I'll invest in crypto, Bitcoin. Because till that time, I'm sure that it will reap dividends to me in the future. So while the end goal is same, creating wealth for yourself, but the approaches are really different, and one needs to be attuned with respect to their mindset. So I think that's what I've realized in terms of, how things operate or work with them. Strictly speaking, there are 2-3 basic codes that you need to stick to. And the rest, yes, many other things would come along with it.
No, this is interesting, and I just want to underscore this financial, sort of say, outlook point that you're saying. So one of the things that you would read a lot of literature about Gen Zs, and because a lot of it is US-based, they do refer to financial instability in the West being a key, sort of say, shaper of their psyche. Which I kept asking myself this question, saying, is that relevant for the India market or not? Which looks less. I mean, look at our stock markets, overall GDP growth, and so on and so forth. But what you're saying is, and I'm just trying to debate in my head, is that a age and low responsibility and therefore high risk ability, or is it some other larger macro sort of say trend which is impacting this particular audience?
I would say combination of all these things. It is about the larger trend, and especially whatever this generation has seen in the last 6-7 years with respect to what kind of investments has gone into what kind of thing, and what is the future perspective like? What are the influencers saying? It's something that drives their decision making. But you're right. There's a lot of noise out there with respect to what Gen Z is like, how you should approach. While many talk about sustainability, etc., but I see that more of a Western phenomenon than an Indian phenomenon, because where these guys are really practical minded with respect to what they are seeking for.
Got it. No, that's interesting. All right, Abhishek. It'll be. I'll be surprised if there's one thing that Gen Zs don't want to do is to travel, right? Again, if going back to what Alok said, if social expression is one of their core tenets, besides what they wear, they definitely want to, talk about what they wear and where they are, right? So I think talk to us about Abhishek, what your view on or experience on Gen Zers is, yeah. And then how do you think they're kind of shaping your category?
Yeah, firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for patiently listening. One good insight is that we can all see your bodies, but we can't see your eyes. So even if you're sleeping from here, your eyes are not visible. That's the good thing. And the light is so flashy here that actually we can't close our eyes for sure. So I'll try to make it interesting. 2 good insights I'll share with you. One is that 16 minutes, 40 seconds is how much this will last. And the second is that it's always tough to remember Gen Z as a term, as Akash put it. And once I told my dad it's 27 saal aur niche, uske baad se I never forget it. So maybe that is something, if you were calculating, many of us might have before coming on the dais. Good question, Akash. And on travel, specifically, very interestingly, of course, all the Gen Zs travel a lot. And you're right when you said, Arun, that a lot of the literature on Gen Z is all Western. Like there's some report from McKinsey being done which covers US, etc. When at Makemytrip, at least we are trying to understand the Gen Z market. What we realized is a lot of that literature doesn't work. And I'll just talk about some of the myths which got busted for us. You might find them useful. One is that when we started off, of course, exploring 2 years from today, post-COVID, we had this feeling that Gen Z is a cool guy, come out of our college, etc. But that's not really a cool rich guy, spoiled. There were a lot of perceptions which got broken because Gen Z is just an age bracket, right? 27 years and below, which could be a person coming from a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, from a metro, from an affluent household as well, and for a non-affluent household as well. So that doesn't matter much. What started mattering, of course, when we saw it in the light that what is different in this generation. is actually that they were born with the internet. And that is the start of it. If you look at it, an overexposed mind. And they hate, and I've asked this question to every consumer I met in any in immersion. And I've asked them that, how do you feel like being called Gen Z? And I'll tell you till date, and I did ask someone today as well, no, not even a single one has said, I feel great about it. They feel like we're not a guinea pig, yeah. Like, what does Gen Z think? Like, what does Gen X think? And that's a good way to think about it, that Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z are all generations, right? It's not like 10 years before today, people were thinking, yeah, how does the Gen X think? How do I market to the Gen X? Because there's no single archetype. Within Gen Z, I'm sure there are various segmentations. So one has to understand what is the product you're selling, and then see what is the different types of Gen Z behaviors, because there's no one behavior. Like, you can't go out there today and ask a Gen Z, Acha, do you behave like this? Or do you think about, do you think about environment? And he might just tell you that, dude, I don't have money, I have to first earn some money. And I don't care a damn about environment. Yes, I write about it on social, but I don't really care. I care whether my mutual fund will give me 12% or not. I care about how do I invest in Swiggy, let's say his IPO is coming out. What will be the return I get on, let's say, Ola, etc., etc. So there's no generic definition is the second myth which got busted. But one thing for sure which we learned is that digital overload played on their minds big time. Because, and there's a science to it as well, that when you think about digital, how do you get eyeballs? Today, if you put a post out there which is slightly controversial, you'll get far more views than if you put out some hunky-dory, lovey-dovey message out there, right? Which made sure that the Gen Z consumed a lot of content which is controversial, dividing, polarizing, which created perceptions in their minds which may not be their own as well, which then they validate over years and fine-tune their own perception. It could be as simple as who will win the election. It could as well as be, is India a democratic country or not? You could put out anything out there to get eyeballs. So these are some of the myths which got busted for us, that it's an age profile, highly digital savvy. One thing which I think very rightly put by you, Akash, was that the social, what they put out on social matters much more for this generation. And the implication for us was that, let's say, put a hotel picture out there, and they went thinking, like a Gen X, Gen Y might go thinking the facilities and the look and feel of it. But the Gen Z does think a lot more about the look of it, because what they imagined in their minds was they will get a photo clicked, let's say, overlooking the sea here, and when they reach there, they're slightly different, then the uproar is slightly more. And the second thing is also they are much more vocal in telling what they like and what they don't like, and putting it out on social as well. We found that to a certain percentage, the Gen X and Gen Y think, even before putting it on social, that what will people think about them, that they are trying to defame a brand or appreciate a brand. But Gen Z relatively thinks less. None of the deltas to the questions we asked to Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z differed by more than 5%. So give you an example. If I asked a question that, does your social profile matter? And the Gen X, Gen Y said, let's say 50% of them said it matters, then the Gen Z, the answer would be 55 to 56. So that is the delta difference. Not a huge difference, of course, it's over-glorified. So these are some of the myths which got busted for us.
No, sure. I think I think a lot of what he said is true for millennials, right? I think, and if you compare millennials to sort of say Gen Xers or baby boomers, that difference evident. And therefore, I see your point that the difference between a millennial and a Gen Z is less. Precisely why some of the other ones which are amplified are more important for us to recognize, right? So Alok, if I may come to you and wear your marketing hat now, and give us a sense of the product distribution spoken about. If you haven't, by the way, go check out berrylush.com. If I got it right, I did, and I found it quite interesting. Give us a sense from an overall engagement perspective. You briefly mentioned Instagram. What are the channels that you're using where you're seeing most return? Because the other way I used to, I mean, at least in my head, try to segment the two these things, and some people might be unhappy about it, is that the millennial was the more Twitter generation, right? I mean, we were a lot more vocal, we were a lot more, we felt our point of view is important in shaping the world. Whereas increasingly, Instagram is more the Gen Z platform, right? I mean, because the social expression comes a lot more easy, right? And I mean, that's what I would keep it in my head, but I want to get your real life experience on what you're seeing and how consumers respond on what platform, what kind of activations and activities that you do, which seems to be giving you more results.
So, few things that, is very important to see, understand that it's an age bracket, as mentioned by him, that it's just an age bracket. But there are certain things which they are exposed to. So, for example, they are exposed to a lot of tech, lot of apps. So, UX for them is like you cannot go less than Instagram in your own website. Like, that UX has to be that level, right? So it means anything and everything will not work. So they have a very small, attention time, right? So they'll just bounce off if they don't feel that vibe is as good as Instagram, right?
Vibe underscore. Yeah, go ahead.
Then, one more thing that, we have noticed is that peer-to-peer recommendation and researching things, it comes very natural to them. Like, for example, if they have to buy something from, say, the website, but still they'll do a research on other places, look at the reviews, ratings, and those are more important for them. So peer-to-peer reviewing is something that builds credibility for the brand. So for us, what has worked is like both in the website and Instagram, the UGCs that are generated. Like, so we have a section in the website which is photo reviews, photo and video reviews, right? So that has worked out very well for
consumers,
us.
UGC.
For the, yeah, but so these are the consumers only, they post it in our website. So there are a set of consumers who post in Instagram and set of consumers who post in the website. So the ones which, so that part works out very well for us. So that we have seen across the board. Like, even when we are running, say, meta ads, right? If it is a UGC, the ROAS is far higher. So when we are doing partnership ads, the ROAS is far higher. It goes to, as high as, say, 7.5, 8. Whereas at an average, we see 4.5, 5, right? So these kind of things are very important for them. So genuineness and authenticity. So you cannot just fool them with, just good pictures and images. So for them, authenticity, realness is important.
Very nice. And which will be the platform where you spend most of your money?
So it's primarily Meta, right? So
that'll be Instagram on Meta. I'm assuming,
yeah.
Right?
And again, like it's around 95% Instagram and 5% Facebook. Right?
Oh, very interesting. I love the fact, I think the vibe of the place has to feel right? Otherwise, that's not happening, right? Again, Arun, from your perspective, again, from a marketing perspective, wearing your brand hat, where are you targeting them more? What kind of content works for you guys? Again, if any experience or any case studies that you think are relevant for me and for the audience here.
See, fortunately or unfortunately for us, QSR is a category. Yeah, QSR is a category. There are few, highly efficient codified. So Meta is a platform. Instagram gives you good reach, engagement in like tier 1 or metros, tier 2, 3, 4, Facebook picks up. So that Meta is a platform when you're targeting the specific audience, really helps you leverage that. Influencers is another big thing. Not the celebs, but the opinion makers, the micro and the macro influencers that they follow across domains is something that really works. Engagement with them. And the third is YouTube as a platform. I think the way it has come up and, over a period of last few years, now with connected TV aspect also in place, it is giving TV a run for its money. And, that is something that, one could leverage as a platform as well. Because what we realized is, even for a Gen Z from a entertainment standpoint, large format content consumption, still has a very strong relevance. So be it your tablet or be it your own TV is something that really works. And the third that I would say is, the word of mouth to an extent. But yes, these guys are their own opinion makers. So,
No, and actually, and then Abhishek, before I come to you for that, and Alok, Arun, if you can comment on this. See, again, even as millennials, ratings and reviews given digital did that was obviously a strong driver for preference or choice, right? again, there's obviously a migration to this content creators, influencers, and so on and so forth, right? And the part that I'm seeing, the trend that I'm seeing is now the conversation is moving a lot more on peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer also always existed, so there's never a question. But this close group of, sort of say, friends and families, which I overly rely on, is becoming sharper, is what my perception is. Not data back, not experience back. Do you have any views on that? So again, ratings and reviews. Traditionally, millennials loved it as well, digital generation invention, then going to influencers, content creators, to, sort of say closed communities or closed groups and so on and so forth. Are you guys seeing that trend?
See, ratings and reviews, I would say, both from an Amazon, Flipkart, or from a Swiggy, Zomato standpoint, has become a hygiene. Yes. It's the quickest way to discovery, make an opinion, and take a decision. So that has become a hygiene for all the brands. So that's part one. The peer-to-peer, I mean, it was always there, but to be honest with you, if you have a gang which is like an Illuminati and you want to project something, that's where, with respect to what you think, what I think, if it matches, works. Otherwise, while we are friends, you have an opinion about something good, I could have a very different opinion about it. And I might not accept it. So I haven't seen peer-to-peer, honestly, being a very influential thing. Because at Samsung, you would probably know, Samsung members is a community, of the Samsung device holders. And we observed this kind of behavior amongst those members to a great degree, whenever we tried to engage with them.
And you didn't see any significant uptake because of that?
No.
Got it. Alok, you have a view on this?
Yeah, so like for us, what we have seen is that, yeah, definitely review rating, this is something, is a hygiene, but what they are used to is like they can research very fast. Like they can look at multiple things at, multiple tabs. They are used to these kind of things. So they do research faster, and reviews and ratings are very important. Influencers, what we have noticed is that influencers play a very, very important role. Because see, there's a thin line between influencer and a celebrity now, right? Like that is like influencers are becoming celebrities, celebrity are becoming influencers. But what really works is when the content that they can relate with, right? So they follow and they follow because they consume so much of content, right? In a way, millennials also consume a lot of content, right? So one of the things that we notice in our factory is that when we have the lunch break, right, like between 1 and 1:30, the tailors, they finish their lunch within 10 minutes, and the rest 20 minutes, they just spend on consuming reels. Like that is across everyone, right? So everybody is consuming that, but what they are doing is that they are consuming as well as they are doing social shopping. Because they are so, digitally connected, right? So they do that too. So influencers play a very important role in end conversions and relatability with the...
Got it. And look, just as a final comment for you before I come to Abhishek, just talk about how you're, sort of say capturing, which you was talking to me outside, capturing early, and then you're making sure they stay with you, continue that. Right. Please talk about that.
So see, again, today when you see it's 27 and younger is Gen Z, right? Like, but 6 years back when we started, it was, I think, 21 and younger, right? So their purchasing power at that point of time was quite low. But with time, what is happening is that they are, initially they were primarily in colleges who were consuming our products, right? Now they are the ones who have moved on to either a professional course in like a MBA, or they're doing their first job. So for that, what we have done is like we created a sub-brand called Berrylush Bizwear, right? And so there are certain things, which is, again, these are the customers who want to showcase their uniqueness even in the office environment, right? So it's not run-of-the-mill same kind of clothes that everybody is wearing. So they want to express themselves there also. So that is the thing that we, thought about, and it is working out well for us. Even the ASPs are higher in that.
Right? No, it's phenomenal. I think an example of staying close to the customer and hand-holding them as they move generations, I think that's a great example. Abhishek, coming to you, marketing hat, what are you seeing in terms of channels to choose, messaging to drive, both adoption from a brand perspective and some of the performance work that you do?
So, of course, on the performance side, things are pretty similar because it's very algo-driven. But on the brand side, certain interesting things we have seen, like one of our typical ads which we do with our brand ambassadors is Ranveer Alia always work. They worked for the previous generation as well. They worked for Gen Z as well. And we did some research to find out that the appreciation of it was likewise. But certain times when we have definitely picked up social causes, keeping in mind Gen Z, that has clicked much better with the audience. Like recently we launched an ad on Independence Day, and it was addressed to US market and Indians in US, and saying that India has progressed far more than what you had left, and India is not the same India which you had left, it has progressed. And it was a very tricky message to put out there because we felt that there are two sides of the coin, right? Some people can say, okay, and see the positive side of it and say India has really progressed and people should come back and see how much it is. It was, of course, to drive inbound traffic for us. On the other side, people can be pessimistic and say there's so much to do, etc. We were in two minds before before it, and of course, we comprehensively tested it. And interestingly, like, of course, it was 50-50 when we launched, when we tested it with consumers. Half of them said we should launch it, half of them said we should not. Ultimately, we went ahead and did the launch, and surprisingly on social, the response was extremely positive. In fact, what we felt, it might bomb and people might feel pessimistic because the negative word travels much more faster. But so many Gen Zs came out and to voice their opinion, who was maybe suppressed because of the negative view out there, and they got a chance. And what we realized is sometimes Gen Zs need a tool from brand side. Sometimes there's a message which they want to talk about. It could be burnout rates, 18-hour work at a workplace, or it could just be about development. And if brands are able to give that tool to this consumer to put it out on their LinkedIn and talk about it, then both brands as well gain as well, and the Gen Z consumer also gets a piece to talk about, a portrayal of the message which they want to say, but they are not able to say it in maybe as many words. So that is something which we are seeing.
Social expression again.
Absolutely.
I think, that's a very good example of brands enabling Gen Zs to express themselves through topics which are of their interest. Okay, we're almost done. Any question? Otherwise, we will have the discussion with you for the rest of the day.
Yes,
Can you have mic, please?
Yeah. Hi. Thanks. So digital natives understand how they behave on the digital platforms, but any insights on the human behind this digital persona? What are their fears? What do they get inspired about? Are they worried about future? What drives them?
One thing for sure is like YOLO, you only live once. That is something that is very important for them. So experiences matter a lot compared to savings or material possessions, right? So they would rather go on a trip, right, and enjoy or experience that thing rather than saving, right? Means again, this is in general that what we have noticed.
Any view on fears? And Abhishek, if you
Sorry,
have...
but I have a... sorry, down.
So one...
I mean, I think that's also socially driven. I just feel so, because experiences give them more social currency, right? So not sure what's the, again, inspiration behind that. Is it just social persona, or is it more?
So, means definitely, what they are exposed to this kind of an... So, COVID did play a very, very important role, right? After that, people did change, and that generation really, that YOLO kind of a thing started,
that got amplified even more.
Yes, definitely. So
I wasted so many years, I have to make up for it, right?
Yeah.
Also, I think one interesting thing on the question you asked, we saw in one of the consumer researches we did was back, like for Gen Z, Gen X, when they used to do good at school and all, a teacher clapping, and those were the kind of gratifications which changed to a like now on an Instagram, etc. So the dopamine rush doesn't come to the consumer anymore from just a friend saying that you've done a good job. So they expect in some ways that when I'll put that photo out there and there will be a like, then that the loop will get closed, and I would have made, the investment which I made on my hotel experience, for example, I'm talking about travel. I spent 50,000 rupees on this trip and I got 100 likes on Instagram. It's worth it, and they don't say it in that manner, And just to building on what he said, we tested 2 communications very interestingly. One communication was hotel सस्ता पड़ेगा ले लो, And the second was कि सारे पैसे होटल पे उड़ाओगे तो memories कैसे बनाओगे, And there's a small tweak we did from the first one to the second one, and the second one did really well because it was talking to the point which I think Alok was making on making memories. So I think underlying that science, I think is somewhere gratification, which they are looking for, and that has maybe links to how they see themselves, are they successful or not. At least that is what we had learned at Makemytrip.
All right, that's quite interesting. Thank you very much. I think I've learned a lot and truly appreciate all your feedback.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Akash, for moderating it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Akash and Alok and Abhishek and Alok, Arun. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation.